Greetings.
Oh, hello, Professor Poole.
How are you?
Hold on, 1 second. Very good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you see us?
Oh, yeah, I actually see people behind you. Oh, yes, including Bouffant Betty there.
Yeah, there is a good class. I can rotate it a little bit,
Oh,
and
my.
and they'll
Nice.
they'll be coming up and asking questions.
Super,
So
super,
so
super.
so
Where would you like me to start?
well, let me first introduce the speaker. So this is a leadership class, and Professor Poole, welcome to our class.
Thank you.
Yeah, so class, this is one of my very dear friends and colleagues and also mentors, Professor Darryl Poole, and currently a professor at the University of Memphis. And actually, he was a faculty here at the University of the District of Columbia and has been a long-time District of Columbia resident. He is a student of leadership. And hello, Professor Vermillion, come on in, say hi to us.
Oh, no.
Darryl, can you see me? Or
No, you have
can you
to.
just hear my voice, sort of?
I can hear his voice.
How you been, Darryl?
I'm okay. Blessings on your house, Doctor.
Good to hear from you. Good to hear your voice in the classroom.
Once again, under the breach, dear friends.
And so thanks, Dr. Vermillion. Uh, and I worked with Professor Poole for a number of years. He's been a good mentor, a good friend for over 10 years. He's done incredible things. He runs his own think tank, consultancy, which he actively engages with a variety of interesting people, generals, ambassadors, CEOs. His experiences includes Chief Financial Officer, and he has really interesting leadership knowledge that he wants with you to share. And the reason that I brought Professor Poole into the classroom is that some of you, and I think most of you, are coming from the same background and having the same experience which Darryl had 20 or 30 years ago. He's also coming from a very wealthy family, as I understand, Professor.
Oh, brother. Nothing like it.
And has had similar challenges. And so as you're growing up today, receiving your bachelor's degree, hopefully as you move forward and will be receiving your master's degrees, well, PhDs, and other degrees, the question that I wanted Professor Poole to answer is how can you actually succeed in the contemporary America and the challenges of the modern world? To tell a little bit about himself and perhaps to share with some of the wisdom and knowledge that he has learned over the past 50 or 60 years, growing through the civil rights era and the modern civilization. So, Darryl, it's all yours.
Well, I'm under very strict instructions not to talk more than 10 minutes and then turn it over to questions. I think we'll get a lot more done that way. I'm from an odd background. I was born and raised in western Massachusetts, East Springfield, Amherst. I've lived around the country, 28 years in D.C., traveled around the world, and I have a career that is most aptly described as a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. I've had a number of jobs, tasks. I think they were mostly by accident. No one else wanted to do it. They said, let's get Darryl. If he can't do it, we can fire him and no harm done. It didn't work that way. I went to Bentley. I think some of you knew that. Lived in Boston for a good bit of time. Went to MIT, then down to Connecticut. I'm sort of a quasi-corporate finance background. But the real heart of it has all been troubleshooting. Jobs people found too difficult to tackle or in which there were no known solutions. And I was young and dumb and pretty stupid, and I said, well, I can do it. What the heck? I need the money. And it worked. Now, following that, I began to meet very unusual people. People with great capacity. People who are almost iron-willed, stone hands in velvet gloves who hid a great deal of compassion deep within. And as it turned out, several of these people became my own mentors over time. And the one thing they insisted is at some point, at some time in your life, people are going to need your help, and you're going to give it. And you don't want to give it, but you're going to give it anyway. Well, that turned out to be very, very true. Nothing is more challenging than being a chief financial officer. Bearing in mind that I was born in 1946, so spring chickens and I have nothing in common. 1946, 1950s, these were not fun years. They're exceedingly difficult. The 60s were not fun years. I spent various times in the middle 60s, at one point running from police dogs. This is no particular glory. It is an exercise in stark, sheer terror. I've lived in neighborhoods, even as a CFO, where bullets were whizzing by, and my colleague and I, great colleague George Brown, Deputy Mayor of Washington, we simply refused to move. And I often question the wisdom about that, but in the era of leadership, in the era of what you're facing, at some point in time, you have to proceed literally on faith.
It's 12 o'clock.
Almost totally on faith. You find yourself increasingly going wherever the good Lord seems to send you. Even though you can often feel like, Lord, I don't want to go there. Things are doesn't look good over there. Go anyway. One of the things and I'm moving across a wide variety of subjects fast, so we can always come back. One of the things I try to share with people at all times is you must understand the world in which you function. You are not a Washingtonian. You are not a citizen of the United States. You are a temporary resident on the planet Earth. All things that now happen on the planet affect the other half of the planet in something like 7 seconds. So those of you studying management, thinking about full-on careers, what you want to do, understand that regardless of what the political world will tell you, the world is intrinsically interlocked. Now, within that, there are several other things that go right and can go wrong. The first, we deal increasingly with planetary wildcards, the rise of the black swans. Simple illustration. A tsunami in Japan can shut down 15,000 business instantaneously. Wild weather patterns. This is not global warming. This is a complete weather change. Wild weather patterns, which we're now entering another cycle for the winter, affect hundreds of thousands of people immediately and 5 to 20 million people within about 24 hours. We're interrelated. We now live in a world of financial transactions that never stop, 24/7, all minutes, all the time. The city never sleeps. None of our institutions, including academic institutions or anywhere else, actually trains you for this kind of velocity. It's tough. Then we have what you look out the window, or sometimes simply pick up the papers and wonder who in the world do we bring aboard to lead us? How do we choose leaders? What are we looking for? Well, folks, at the end of the day, an ethical leader is only who you are. You have greater capacity to lead than you may think, even though hiding may seem to be the most viable option known on planet Earth. More and more people will come to you if they understand that you are able to be who you are. The most unusual, extraordinary teachers and leaders I've ever known were extremely humble and only believed that they could help maybe. They did not have grand illusions. It does not mean they don't have dreams. Oh, heavens, yes, we have dreams. Doesn't mean you won't have aspirations. You will. But who you are is probably the greatest commodity right now on the planet. And within that are two things. Whatever becomes your sense of ethics and whatever becomes your basis of trust. Look around you now. I mean, just go outside after school, go to work, see who you trust. And it's unimportant whether they are the high and the mighty or the lowly and the meek. Preachers, school teachers, janitors. Who do you trust to tell you the truth? Insofar as they believe it to be true. Find those people who will tell you the truth when you don't want to hear it, and you hold them as close to you as possible. If they trust you to tell them the truth, they will empower you beyond your wildest imaginings. But that assumes you're going to be a truthful person. And what are the top two problems we have on the earth right now? Income inequality. I always have to apologize. I'm a researcher and a capitalist, but not lost, gone out of my mind capitalist. There is an issue of capitalism which requires you must reinvest that capital in order to have markets to buy your future products, all you business types out here. And relative to income inequality, I have no political position whatsoever other than 6,000 years of history. No civilization has ever survived this kind of polarity. And I get into big arguments in D.C. or even down here in the South with different folks saying that's socialism. I said, no, it's common sense, logic, and all of known history. At some point, you destroy the body that actually feeds you. So, top problem on earth is crime. The greatest drain in human endeavor now is criminal activity. 7 to 8 trillion per year in cash. It is a phenomenal amount of money. Crime and those who benefit from it, the illegal motions of money. There's more than 1 trillion would basically feed and house the population of planet Earth for life. 2 trillion eliminates what we consider to be health problems, and it's cash. Now, with all that, you can say, well, I'm really doomed. Thank you for brightening up my Wednesday. Actually, when you have these kinds of challenges, you have opportunities that are way, way off the map. You have the ability to make change. You have the ability to be the changes. The problem most of us face is that daily we simply get overwhelmed. It's hard to pick up a newspaper and read about families burned out, 14,000 people dead from Ebola and climbing. It is very, very, very hard to read about some politician going off to jail, and when they get out, they'll still have $2 million in cash. I got a cure for that, but it's not legal. But you have such capacity in the areas of leadership that I said, look, understand your own pain is real. It's very real. And understand next, is this what you want for anyone who comes into your sphere of influence? It's within that you have great capacity to lead. Leading is an attitude. Success, you'll have tons of books that'll tell you success is this and success is that. I find at the beginning and the end of the day, success is how you measure your own heart. It may sound strange from a business and a researcher, but I've poured through so much and advised so many people in the last 20 years that there are constants to all of this. People will call me. 2 days ago, I had a call from a new CEO at an institution that said, how soon can you travel? I said, I don't travel anymore. Can we do Skype conferences? I suppose so, but I have to analyze data. And my time is extremely expensive because the rest of my time is helping people and teaching. which does not pay big bucks. The response was, we'll do whatever is necessary. I had to put down the phone and do my happy dance because all of you are in much better position than I am. And if they trust you, they will seek you out. If you become a person who consistently says the truth and stands for something, they will seek you out. Okay, into lecture. Let's go right to stump
I'll
the
ask
stars
one
with the
question and then I
questions
think
here.
everybody else.
Anything else you want me to cover, Dr. Ivanov,
Okay, so
before this starts?
Professor Poole, why is it that you have so many books behind you?
Okay, so
And I've seen Professor Poole's library in his house. He actually
Oh,
has
you
no
mean
walls either.
part of my library?
All of his walls have been covered like this. So why is it, Professor Poole, that is it still important to read in our day and age when you can just look at, that's the iPhone?
Well, I have bad news for you folks. iPhones, Google, Bing, Bang, Bong, whatever you want to call them, is highly edited information. If you depend upon the newspapers for your source of news and the 6 o'clock news, you are living in a very, very dark place. The United States is the most edited, pre-digested news structure ever. I find Chinese newspapers have more news now than the average newspaper in the United States, with possibly the exception of the Christian Science Monitor and U.S. News. Ironic. You have to think for yourself. I realize that's tough when you got your ears glued to an iPhone or everybody's chatting. You have to think for yourself. For example, anyone that tells you this is what the Constitution says, immediately run the other way because you need to read it yourself. It is a phenomenal document. Oh, heck, we have never outlawed piracy, but most of the people who claim to be totally knowledgeable about the Constitution have no idea we've never overruled letters of marque. It's what allows us to take out terrorists at sea. So minor little things like this sit within the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, but more importantly, the document that ran the country for 11 years, the Articles of Confederation, which most people have never, ever picked up. So, simple stuff. Now to get out of the philosophy, folks, have you read your cell phone bill? Have you actually read your, whatever you call the utility bill up there? Or your general phone bill? I urge you once, with a shot of bourbon, if not two, to sit down and read the phone bill you next get and see what you have agreed to. Now, leaving all that, making it simple, I learned to read at 3. I had no choice, school teachers in the family. But it's been invaluable to double check. It's been invaluable to go back through history and into the future a little and see, okay, here's what we're doing now. Have we done this before in history, and how did that work? In most cases,
thank you very
it
much.
didn't
Okay.
work too
And
well.
Angie, you had a question? Angie, please come on up. And this is
Answer
the
questions.
hot
You got to
chair.
stay current, but it's on you.
The hot seat, yes. And then who is after Angie? Okay, so come on up and line up here, guys. That way we have, just sit up, guys, right here. So that will be the preparatory chair. And then, okay, Angie, please sit down.
Oh, we're in the hot seat, huh?
Yes. And speak into that thing.
Thank you. Hello?
Uh-oh.
I was just wondering, I'm retired, and I was wondering, could I be really successful going
Hello,
into
Angie. I'm Darryl.
this new world without? I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I didn't have all the cell phones and stuff you just said. And my fiance and I were thinking about starting a business, but we don't want to do it with all this new technology. Can we do it and be successful? Are we kidding ourselves?
It depends on the nature of the business. Personal
It's like
services.
it's going to be like a survivor's network kind of
healthcare,
thing.
is not necessarily high technology driven. It's deeply interpersonally driven. You will
Okay.
need technical capacity, but I'm not sure at what extent. Just to keep the communications.
No, we
You
just
can't
opened
do it
we
by
don't have a
hand.
nonprofit survivors network like preparation
But
thing going.
don't be afraid. If you got something that you think would work, get a few folks together and test it
Okay,
out.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Angie. And I think, yeah.
Oh,
Then Jerry.
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely
Courtney.
you can do it.
And speak loudly, guys.
Okay.
Into that thing. Loud.
Hello. Hi.
Loud.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. So I have a question about when you said that
Hello.
if people
I
tell you the
can
truth
hear
to
you
keep
very
them
well.
around
Thank you so much.
Okay, so it's like a fact truth. Like if you ask, was Martin Luther King murdered? That's like, yes, that's a fact. But then it's like an opinion truth. So if I like show you my business plan and I ask you, do you think I should change this plan? And they keep it honest and say like, I think you should change this. I think you should do that. But what if when their truths don't agree with your truths? Like if you're confident with what you had going on and you have these people around you that are honest people that tell you the truth, what if their truth is like negative? Like every time you present them with a truth or something, they have an opposing truth, like of their own opinions and their own feelings. What do you do with a person like that? Do you still keep them around, or do you just follow your heart, or do you take into consideration what they say, or how do you deal with a person whose opinion is true to them but not true to you?
Oh, very good question. Two elements. Number one, you listen to everybody and you have to follow your heart. You will very quickly determine people who are negative. You have to begin to let them go their own way. When I say get people around you who will tell you the truth, there are very few of these. They're the ones you sit down with and you say, look, friend, I just messed up. I did this, this, and this. And the person will sit across from you and call you an idiot to your face, sit you down and say, we have to have a talk. That's a personal truth. That's a you-them truth. And they're always telling you what they believe to be true. It's not whether they're right, but do they care enough about you as a person to share what they really believe? Back to your ideas. When you ask a person to evaluate your ideas, that's a question and answer. That's like Martin Luther King was killed at 39. That's fine. Well, phrase your questions so that people can answer them, and then you can make a determination. When I say people that tell you the truth, it is hard to go to your best friend and show your best friend all the warts because you don't want to look bad in front of that person or the pastor or kindly old Professor Ivanov. You don't want to do that. We're not wired to go hang ourselves off on a wall. But we have to become accustomed not only to asking for input, but to listening to it. Now, people that are consistently negative take in only what they may be telling you in common, that is fact, and then continue to improve your
Yes,
dream.
it's very helpful. Thank you.
Continue to seek out people, because the more you seek out, the more these people will find you. Is that helpful?
Yes, it's
Good afternoon, Dr. Poole. Oh, all right. Good afternoon, Darryl. My name is Jerry. Two quick questions. First of all, do you believe
Oh,
that
good
Google
afternoon,
or
sir. It's just
technology is
Darryl.
making us stupid?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I think the reliance on shortcuts is not making us smart. See, Google, if you use Google Scholar and not just Google itself, you'll suddenly find yourself scrolling through a lot of documents. Well, most people don't want to look at the document titles. So that kind of makes you sort of stupid. If you do your research based on Google alone or any other search engine, you're not taking advantage of the porthole that it actually creates. It's like walking into a library and saying, oh, look at the books, and then turning around and walking out. Wikipedia. Some call this the most evil device ever. But good articles on Wikipedia can have anywhere from half a page to 15 pages of reference notes. Full bibliographies. If you actually check these things, you would be just like in a library, just like the old card index days when you go and sort through the card indexes and try and figure out what might be relevant. So it's not whether the technology exists. It's how you personally use it. As a population in the United States, the United States has become a country of people that are happy to hear what they want to hear and not seek out what they need to know. It's a major difference between the two. You can sign up for any political stripe you want, and so long as the person is preaching one dogma or the other, you're right there. Yay, yay. But the politicians collecting tons of money from all kinds of other people, and you are as broke as, I can't use that phrase. You're just still broke. So you have to stand back and say, okay, what do I really need to know, and what questions do I really need to ask in order to
Also,
have knowledge
Darryl,
about a subject or a field?
you
And it's
spoke
more
about cell
reading
phone
than
bills.
most people are now
When you
accustomed
sign
to
a
doing.
cell phone bill,
But it
are
is a
you actually
choice,
signing over your rights to privacy?
sir.
Very good. Yeah, come on up. And recording.
Okay.
record.
Yes.
Hi, Professor.
Next question.
I'm doing great. My name is Vic Train, and I study in business management.
Moscow
So,
is listening.
I'm sorry I was a little late to class. I'm not sure you have discussed about this already in
How do you
class
do,
about
sir?
what are some of the important keys to success in this to survive in this economy.
Mhm.
So I'm just asking, like, as a student, I haven't really done any internship so far. And I just want to know if you can, what do you think that some of the skills that we as the people in United States need to like master this skill in order to survive this economy, whether
Uh-huh.
it can be positive skill or negative skill.
Hmm. Good question. The most positive I could advise you is you pay attention. Take nothing for granted and nothing lightly. That sort of ties to part of the question, Jerry, was that you got that asked? Do the shortcuts make us stupid? Yeah, they do. Mostly listening to good news broadcasts, not talk shows. Those will kill you. Those will rot your brain right quick. Asking questions of people you trust about how do they see the world around them. We live in a highly unstable environment. That's not a lot of fun. But the opportunities for change I'm 68. They've never been greater. They've never been greater. Consider as you continue the studies you're taking, what do you enjoy doing? What is it you really do well? And don't lose track of that. Those are positive skills. Listen to people carefully. All top leaders have a 360-degree listening arc. They listen to everything and everyone before they form a final decision or a final opinion. One of your advantages at the University of the District of Columbia is most students there exist in 3 to 4 cultures simultaneously. The culture to which you were born, the ethnicity in which you were born, the social economic class in which you now function, the environment in which you now go to work and study. This puts you in the top 30% of all students. You are already accustomed to trying to understand on a daily basis how you go to work, go home, go to school, and not shoot anybody. There are reasons I don't own guns. We wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today. It is easy to be angry. It is very tough to be purposeful. But if you're from another country, another culture, speak more than 2 languages, you are already ahead of the next wave of competition.
Right.
You're
I mean,
already
so I understand
ahead.
that
It may not seem
we
it,
cannot predict what
but
the
you
economy
are.
is going in America for the next maybe 5 years. So I mean, as it seems right now,
Does
it's
that
going pretty
help
terrible.
you, or you could
And
refine the question?
coming out from a college in DC, it's pretty rough to find a job, especially at UDC. I guess. So just assuming from listening and love what you do, I mean, I feel like it's not enough to survive in this kind of economy, and
Mhm.
I get.
Very few people know how to survive in this economy. I advised my clients years ago to get out of credit. Get out of it. You have to engineer your life more toward cash. Apart from borrowing enough money to get through school, maybe a car note. If you engineer your life to consider cash rather than credit, you will survive most economic problems. Most, not all, but most. Nothing is overwhelmingly predictable. If you don't like what you're doing, you're at a disadvantage. If you don't believe in what you yourself can do, you are at a disadvantage. But economically, you have to stay focused. I work with some folks. One gentleman who had spent a few years in prison sat with me and said, I'm doomed. I said, why is that? What do you really know how to do? And he listed a whole bunch of things he knew how to do. He was quite a salesman. I wouldn't advise the product line, but he was quite a salesman. And I said, well, why are you talking to me? Because I had to leave Springfield, Massachusetts under the advice of various law enforcement officers. And he says, I said, why do you care? You could make tons more money than I'll ever make. And he pulled out of his wallet a crumpled picture of his daughter, who was 4 years old. And he said to me, I can't do this anymore. And I said, now we found the hook. You've got this crumpled picture of your daughter whom you haven't seen for 2 years. And you're asking me, how do I put this right? That was the real question. Never lose this picture. Every step you take has to be taking you where you want to go. And for him, it was provide for his daughter. And you hold that thought, you hold that complete mental image in your mind, you will overcome so many other kinds of obstacles. He did, and he did. So you're looking at a troubled economy. Think hard about what you yourself want to be and give yourself permission to do it. Financially, economically, go conservative. Stay conservative. This is not the era to spend 2 nights or 3 nights a week at the club. This is not it. This is the time. You're the farmer. You got to tend the gardens. You got to tend the sheep. I realize that may sound more philosophical than you're looking for, but when you walk out of here at lunch, I want you to just take a look around you. Who builds you up? What people build you up? What have you learned today that you can use? Ask yourself, who should I go and talk to? It's real tough to walk into a place and say, I just want to talk about work you may have. Nobody likes to be told no over and over and over again. Well, Harlan Sanders lived in a car for 3.5 years before he struck it rich with Kentucky Fried Chicken. I really hate him. A lot of chickens hate him too, but that's beside the point. Everybody that says you can't do something has just given you a major lift up. They cannot impede you. They cannot stop you. You got to believe in your heart. But financially and economically, go conservative.
Thank you,
This is a
Professor.
cash economy. Others who bought lots of fancy things went bankrupt 6 years ago.
How you doing, Professor?
Oh, you kicked him out. That's awful.
Wonderful.
Oh, you're more than
On behalf of me and the class, we thank you for showing up today. All right. My question to you is, I'm a young black man. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking,
I'm quite well, sir.
I'm
Yourself?
a married young black man with 2 kids, and I did something in the past, even before I
bless your
had
heart.
a family, and I served my time and got out and got a acceptable job, and working hard, and I tried to provide for my family. Okay, and my goal is to do something bigger. Then I apply for, let's just say, a federal job, and they go extensive into my background and reject my application or refuse to hire me. How can I stay motivated to that cause?
I would need to see the specific application, but in many instances, you can ask it. If you tell an employer, here's the problem, before the application or as the application is being submitted, ask at the same time, what do I need to demonstrate that I have overcome the obstacles of the past? It's a very different question. Most interviewers don't expect it. But if you, hypothetically, your associate, ask that question, sooner than later, someone will say, well, we need the following verifications. Doors open, you're going through with a battering ram. There's no, I need to know more specifics about how to do, what you're applying for, what the person might be applying for, before I can give you a very definitive answer. But don't stop. Just lead with it. Say, hey, been a rough life. Here's where I am now. Last so many years, totally sober. Last so many years, not selling, not being a super salesman on the street with illicit pharmaceuticals. Not you. I was referring to my one of my former UDC students up there. You have to believe that you can do it, and others will ultimately believe that you can. Your difficulty is not the background. The difficulty you now have is unemployment is actually 18%.
Thank you very much,
It's
Professor.
not you. So you got to hold that very tight, very, very close.
Hello,
And then
Professor.
focus
My
on
name is
doing
Jorge,
things
and I'm
in
a
which you
business
are
major.
very, very
And
good and letting that
my
skill
question is,
build.
Based on your knowledge, experience, current
Sure.
and past events, how much longer do you think the economy will be somewhat stable, comparing it to the 2008 economic downfall?
Sir. It isn't actually stable now. It just has a sort of illusion of stability. What you're looking at is a very different emerging economic platform. I don't know what that's going to be. I wish I did. I'd be in the basement printing more money. But we're not looking at the same planet we were looking at in 2002, 2006. So, the
Okay.
advice I just gave prior to that, fiscally, you stay conservative. Assume you need flexibility.
All right. Thank you.
As best you can at all times. But I don't see stability as a word that works. I don't think we have language for the current economic structure in which
My
we're
name is
functioning.
Darryl. My question is about trust and information. As we get older and older, more and more things we were taught about history have been proven untrue. Because of this, African Americans have become more and more distrusting of
just
authority
Darryl, please.
and skeptical of what we're taught. How do you feel that we
Hello,
need?
Derek.
How do we overcome this to move forward in the future?
Mm-hmm. Two-part answer. Part one, I don't know anyone now that trusts the information that they've been given. Black, white, green, pink, or purple. Part two, Dr. Ivanov asked me, do I actually read these books? This is not the whole library. The answer is yes. You have to read for yourself. Formulate your own opinions. Study, review your own thoughts. You would have to do that if you were sitting in an office as a purchasing manager. If you build that practice of study, too broad a word, of constant review and being updated and current in information, you will very quickly begin to determine what has the ring of truth and what has no plausibility whatsoever. It comes with experience. It comes with just professional application. Keep an inquisitive mind. You got that. Every one of you sitting in the room has that.
A
Use
follow-up
the fact
question,
that you
but
don't
on a different subject,
automatically trust
on your
your
topic
advantage.
from despair to hope. Cornel West wrote a long time
Verify
ago,
facts, verify
those who have never
information to
despaired
your
have neither
personal
lived nor
satisfaction
loved. Hope
and
is
your
inseparable from
personal
despair.
standard.
Those of us who
That should
truly
be.
hope
Set your
make
own
despair a
standards.
constant companion, whom we out-wrestle every day, owning to our own commitment of justice, love, and hope. Do you feel that overcoming despair creates the type of leader that we need in the next generation? Okay.
I'd like to swap out one word.
Yeah.
Not overcoming
Yeah,
despair, understanding it. We deal. Everyone deals with their own pain and own trauma. Those who understand it rather than fear it tend to overcome it. Does that make sense for you? Understand it. Work to do that. But don't discard
Hello,
it.
my name is
It's
Cameron.
actually part of your strength,
I'm
and
well,
it's
thank you.
very much a
I
source
would
of your
like to own my
compassion
own organization one day that
when
helps
you
inner city
understand the
youth
spirit.
succeed. And based on the economic status of today and the dynamics of certain families, some youth believe it is their destiny to stay in a box and to follow in their family's footsteps and not follow their own personal
How do you do,
dreams.
Kamala?
What would be your advice in helping these young people become leaders in today's world? No, helping the youth, the young people, become leaders in today's world.
Helping you become a leader or helping you help them become leaders? Okay. I don't have advice for that. I can only tell you what I do. I spend time with them. The only thing I have of real value is my time. So when someone asks me, anybody, come and talk to these 3 kids, come and talk to these 4 or 5 people, I will go. I will sit, I will listen, share, answer questions. As the students at Bentley said years ago, when I asked what did they feel they needed me to do as the only African American trustee of an institution such as that, and they said, show up. Just show up. Let us sit and spend time with you when we need to. And come to all big college functions because we want to show you off to our parents, our cousins, nieces, nephews, and children. So my world is contained in that. Show up. I could write tons of books and tell people what to do. Yeah, whoopee. But nothing in the last 30 years has had the effect of keeping my word to show up when asked. All you got to do is reach one. If you can reach 1, you'll get to 2. They'll get to 4, but you got to want to do it. And that's a personal priority. That's not a business priority. I've observed over the years that if people would spend more time saving one child, I don't mean take them to McDonald's. One child, you would probably have cut in half most of the social problems we have in the United States. Because I get called in on rescue missions where I have to go stand outside the room because I'm so angry. Why didn't somebody just come and sit with this person?
Thank you.
And the answer I would get back 30 years ago is they didn't have the time. So I said, God, I don't know how you're going to fix this. But if you send me somewhere, I'm going. I don't have any other magic remedies on this one. So if your neighbor calls you and says, my girl is acting out, I'm about to beat her. No. Just go over there and sit. Create quiet space.
Hi, I'm Sheree.
Do what you want to do with your foundation after you've created a
Okay,
quiet
my question
space
is dealing with leadership.
Emotionally.
I'm in this bind now at work, and my supervisor is not a good leader. And I want to know, how do you go about writing a letter, or how you tell someone they're not a good leader because they don't listen to their employees?
Hello, Sheree.
I don't want to get, blackballed or can't get promoted because I'm voicing my opinion.
Short of the parking lot trip? Understood. I can only give you a general answer. I ask many people, do you work with somebody you can personally trust? Forget whether they're a good leader or a bad leader. If you do not personally feel you could personally trust them or their judgment, get out. That does not mean quit tomorrow. We got to eat, you know. But it does mean you have to think about where you need to be rather than trying to spend too much time trying to help this person understand where they are. If they don't want to listen, you can't correct that. What you can control is what kind of environment do you need to be in to grow and function, and begin to seek that environment. It's a great danger in trying to help a bad boss. You get emotionally invested in trying to improve a situation that may or may not be workable. You've got to make a decision in that. I'm always a little reluctant to tell people, go write your boss and tell them they and a roll of toilet paper really have a lot in common. See, that problems ensue. There's drama. You don't need drama. If this is a very good person who just is a bad manager, don't write the letter. Just ask them, hey, is there some element of this, or one simple example I can help you with? If the person says yes, you have an opening to talk about it. If the person says no, let it alone. Let it go. You can give them the opportunity to let you,
I want to thank you.
Share an observation, and then the rest is how you word it.
Last question. What's your name?
Won't solve the immediate bind, but you've got to think about where you need to be. And that does not mean carrying with you.
My name is Terrence, and for the past few years, I've been trying to start a home health agency and a non-medical transportation business. And when I run into these agencies, like far as like Medicaid and Medicare, they don't want to do business with someone who's just starting this type of business, or try to give those opportunities out.
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
So what do you do when you run into these issues?
No, they don't. No. Mm-mm. Well, I never let anything stop me, but I'm not too bright. In healthcare, here's the good. Let me start with the good news, so we don't get beat up by Dr. Ivanov. There is no known supply for the next 16 years of people capable of giving home-associated health care and health care support. There's no supply. So you identified the field. What you next have to identify, and it's not don't write a book, it's not a term paper.
Right.
The agencies that would fund you, what kind of licenses do they normally require you to have? What do you need? There's a couple of things you have to have in this field, and once you get through this nonsense, your income is bulletproof. You have to have an emergency medical license, EMT. You've got to have a certified nursing assistant, a CNA. There's others you can get. Those two are becoming basic certifications. This does not help you in the very, very short term, but it does help you identify people you need to work with now for the next 2 years. Because keep the goal. Emergency transport service, good job, good money, high insurance premium. Providing home care, You have to work for another company until you had some level of local certification, certified nursing assistant, for example. Once you have that, and meantime you're gaining experience. Everything is leading to having a few trucks of your own, a few transport vehicles of your own, and being licensed. But tick off what are the certifications you are now going to have
We have
to
1
do
minute
this,
left, and we
to
have
meet
one
the
student has a
increasing
very brief
requirements
question, and then I'll have
of
to let them
Medicare,
go.
Medicaid, social services.
Janae,
It's
not
not
got
that
to be
you
a
don't
big
have a lot
question,
of
controversial,
experience.
and
It's just
challenging.
that you've got no certifications
Hi,
behind
Darryl.
you
My name is Janae. It's
professionally.
Professor Alphonse.
But
Hello.
don't
My
stop this.
question
This
is
is a
regarding.
very good
I have a
direction.
7-year-old
This is
son.
an excellent direction.
And today, with the education system, the way it's going, it feels as though, with my experiences with him, that they're training children to be great test takers as opposed to great independent thinkers.
Okay.
And it seems like because my household encourages independent thought, and we do a lot of things with that, but it kind of
Wonderful.
counteracts with what he's being taught
Hello,
while he's
Janae.
at school from 8 to 4. So I just wanted to know what suggestions you would give in order to help foster that yearning for independent, just to become an independent thinker and not a good test taker or not a good regurgitator of,
Yes.
someone else's knowledge as opposed to what you feel is your truth and your own knowledge.
Keep him exposed to knowledge in your home. He may not like watching PBS. Not Sesame Street. May prefer video games. No. Keep a good set of encyclopedia or reference books. One of the most important to have in the house is a subscription to National Geographic. Who'd have thought? But I find younger people actually read it. They first start by looking at the pictures, but then they start reading articles. Anything that links visual to just open knowledge. That the 7-year-old to 14 can reference
Democracy
in
now.
their discussions at school without running afoul of the testing system. Your son will watch what you watch. If the 6 to 7 o'clock news is a standard in your house, I hate the 6 to 7 o'clock news. But if it's a standard in your house, he's going to watch it because that's what's on. Oh, okay. However, democracy now works. Any standard flow of information in a form he understands will help this. Any standard.
And with that, let's give Professor Poole a great applause, guys.